Hi, and welcome to Not Makerspace. We are a group of people who like to tinker and play with tools, and we've created a space where we can do so safely and efficiently.
Oh.
This is the first episode of an 8-part series as part of the project Makers for Inclusion. My name is Ina, and I'll be talking to you about different types of spaces that makers use for their craft. But before we get into that, what makes a maker a maker? First of all, it's all about the hands. So if you like doing things with your hands, if you like taking things apart and putting them back again, if you are passionate about different kinds of equipment and electronics, and if you like to experiment and you're curious, then you are a maker. If you like playing with Arduinos, then you're a maker. If you like making your own clothes and sewing, and perhaps wearables, then you are a maker. It usually starts with one tool from the craft store or maker store. And before you know it, you want to try every tool, you want to try every technique, and you want to buy them all and take them home. But because you can't fit everything in your living room, and you most likely can't afford to, there are spaces such as makerspaces, hackerspaces, techshops, fablabs, where you can go and not only experiment with these tools, but meet people who have the same hobbies that you have. Now, let me tell you about the different types of makerspaces. Techshops were a chain of membership-based, open access, DIY workshops that started in the United States. They were pretty popular, so they started springing up everywhere, but unfortunately, in 2018, they filed for bankruptcy. As sad as that is, their popularity proves the fact that there is a desire for these kinds of spaces. And in their place, other kinds of makerspaces started popping up as well. Fab Labs, or fabrication laboratories, are a small-scale workshops offering personal digital fabrication. Fab Labs started at MIT as a one-semester course done by the Center of Bits and Atoms. Their motto was, "We can build almost anything." Even though Fab Labs are independent from MIT, they do share a network, and they help each other and share information with one another. This movement is closely aligned to DIY culture, open source, and the concept of sharing. Their charter also encourages the fact that everything that was built in a Fab Lab should be shared with the rest of the world. A hackerspace is a community-operated, usually non-for-profit place where people with common interests such as technology, computer science, art, and of course making, can come together and work on different projects. The movement started in Berlin in 1995, and it became very, very popular in Germany. Hackerspaces were the next step after that little corner you have in your room or in your balcony where you want to tinker and take things apart and play with electronics. Driven by a spirit of community, people started getting together and doing those things together and collaborating on different projects. This is how hackerspaces were born. At first, they were very tiny places where people would come, take things apart, and try to make them do things that they weren't meant to do. This is not in an extreme way, but just imagine taking your microwave and turning it into a robot. Because equipment started becoming more accessible and basically cheaper, hackerspaces started introducing technologies such as small laser cutters and 3D printers. And before you know it, they started growing into these makerspaces. Now, a makerspace has many forms. It can take many shapes, and it can be in different kinds of places. You have makerspaces in schools, you have makerspaces in museums, usually technology museums. You have them in places such as this, Node Makerspace, which we're going to present to you in another video. Even though every makerspace is unique and the projects that take place inside them are all different, there are certain activities that are common, and you can find them in almost all makerspaces. Activities such as 3D printing, or CNC milling, or laser cutting, woodworking, sewing, electronics, DIY, and Arduino. Take apart sessions, where you do that thing where you take things apart to see what's inside, what makes them tick. Inventing, and also coding. Ideology. All tech shops, fablabs, hackerspaces, makerspaces share a similar ideology, and that is learning and doing things with your hands. They encourage people to teach each other and learn and share and grow a community through making. They encourage curiosity and collaboration, but most of all, they give making a meaning, which means that once you've learned how an object is made, and once you've done it yourself, it becomes more meaningful than what it was before. While browsing Google for information about these kinds of spaces, I came across a quote which, as corny as it is, I really loved, and I would really like to share it with you. Humans do two things that make us unique from other animals. We use tools and we tell stories. And when you're making something, you're doing both at once. Adam Savage.